The West Virginia 44 is a Tier 6 premium American battleship, and essentially it's a copy paste of the Tier 5 West Virginia. The main difference is West Virginia 44 is one tier higher than the West Virginia, and you can viably build into the secondaries, which is probably the main reason most people want this ship. It's a brawling secondary Tier 6 battleship, I guess you could say. However, it is fun, and I'd say it's a decent ship, but there's no way I can recommend it. The reason for that is because in order to obtain this ship, you would have to go to the store, click on the Steel and Stars bundle, and then there are 99 of the bundles in this bundle chain. Each one individually costs 750 doubloons. West Virginia 44 will drop from one of these 99 bundles. And you may be blessed by RNGesus with incredible luck. You might buy a bundle or two and get the West Virginia 44 immediately. Or you might be less lucky and the West Virginia 44 will drop in the 99th bundle for you. There's no way to tell without actually starting to buy these bundles and go down the chain. If you're thinking, though, that you might want to guarantee the West Virginia 44 and simply purchase all 99 bundles, the price is 74,250 doubloons. There is no way any ship in this game is worth that price. And furthermore, if you are going to do the bundles one by one, well, there are three other premium ships inside of them: the Enterprise, the Constellation, and the Anchorage. So if you already have those or don't want them, and West Virginia 44 is all that you're after, well, be prepared to get one of those instead. And of course, this ship can dev strike cruisers, as the Tier 5 Nuremberg just found out, but any Tier 6 battleship can pretty much do that. So that's not a reason to go down the bundle chain. I really recommend you don't do that. They, of course, have not announced whether the West Virginia 44 will come back to the game in some other capacity at a future time, but maybe it will. I don't know. That is what I would hold out hope for if I wanted this ship. I would not buy these bundles, though. I don't think it's worth it, and there's a high likelihood that you'll spend a ton of money and not get the ship, and then once you've sunk that much money into buying all the bundles, you'll be incentivized to go for more till you actually get the ship, and you could very well end up spending much more than a cost of a typical Tier 6 premium. Anyway, I think that method for obtaining it is unfortunate, a little bit of FOMO, and I would recommend don't engage with it. However, we'll talk about the ship now. I'll show you my commander build. As you can see, the secondaries opening up on the Mayhan here. We're actually going to score a couple of hits. The secondaries are fairly accurate. They're sort of like the Massachusetts secondaries, although down-tiered. And we do get a couple hits on the Mayhan, but ultimately it's our teammate that's going to finish him off. I've got two battles for you. After this one is over, we'll have another one. Both of them are blowouts. Every game I've played at Tier 6 testing this ship out has been a boring blowout, and so I've been forced to select what I think are the two most interesting blowouts that show off the ship decently well. The commander is Optimus Prime, Autobot. The reason I'm using him is because of the revocation protocol skill in the first row. Otherwise, Willis Lee has exactly the same skill tree minus revocation protocol, so you could achieve the same build with him. We've got Kondo and Hipper as the inspirations. Of course, we've got the Porcupine skill active for better secondary range, and we've got the secondary mod in the first slot rather than aiming systems or turret traverse or what have you. To begin with, the HP on the West Virginia 44 is 62,000. I'd say that's pretty decent for a Tier 6 battleship. It's got 37% torpedo damage reduction. The armor is much like the rest of the Dreadnought-style American battleships, 26 millimeters everywhere, except for the torpedo bulge, which is 35, and of course the Citadel belt. It also has a deck plate underneath the rear super-firing turret that's a little bit better than 26, can bounce some battleship shells, but the hull is overmatchable in most places. Same story for pretty much every battleship at Tier 6, including the North Carolina, which has a 26mm bow. 26mm can be overmatched by 380mm guns or larger. So there is that to keep in mind, but, the ship is fairly survivable. The guns, well, the main battery guns are 8 16-inch main battery guns, 15.9 kilometer range, 30-second reload, 45-second turret traverse. Maximum AP shell damage is 12.4K. Maximum HE shell damage is 5.7K with a 36% fire chance. And as for the secondaries, there are 16 of them. 127mm American destroyer type guns. They have a range of 9.1 kilometers with this build, which I'd say is fairly decent for Tier 6. They reload in 5 seconds, and the HE shell damage is actually a lot better than the typical American destroyer caliber gun. 2,160 for the maximum HE shell damage, and a 5% fire chance. You can see that in this battle, we've registered 63 secondary hits so far. No idea how much damage they've actually done, but I think they're fun to use. Not too many ships at Tier 6 can do this secondary type thing. The main battery guns, as you saw there, are not exactly 100% reliable. The dispersion is pretty bad sometimes, and, well, I haven't built these guns for accuracy because I built the ship for secondaries, and it's sort of difficult to achieve both things. So they might be more accurate if you build into them, but I don't see why you would. You could just get the West Virginia at Tier 5 and build into the accuracy of the main battery guns. I think you would want to build into secondaries if you got this thing, because that's its main gimmick. As for the AA defense, I don't know. It's got an aggregate rating of 84. Who cares about AA, though? The maneuverability sucks. It's got a maximum speed of 21 knots, but it does have a 750-meter turning circle and a 14.8-second rudder shift. It's very slow, though, and that kind of goes against the whole idea of wanting to push in and brawl with things. You sort of have to plan that in advance and not find yourself in a situation where you're overly focused by everything and can't disengage, because you won't disengage with this thing's slow speed. The concealment with this build using Kondo as an inspiration is 11.6. It's worse than that if you don't have Kondo, but it's still good. Anyway, I think the ship is fine. I think the whole idea is this American dreadnought-style brawler with some secondary firepower. I've seen some people, though, complaining that the secondaries just don't have enough range. Keep in mind, this is a Tier 6 battleship, and if we compare it to something else where you might want to build into secondaries, like, I don't know, Prinz Heinrich on the German battle cruiser line. Well, if you build into secondaries on that, you get a similar range of 9.1 kilometers, actually, I believe. Let's see. I'm going to look at it now. Yeah, 9.1 on Heinrich, and I think it'd be a similar story for the Scharnhorsts as well. This 9-kilometer range is about where secondaries will top out at Tier 6, so it's well in line with the other ones that you could viably build for secondaries. Not really sure why anybody's complaining. If you want longer secondary range, you'll find that at Tier 7 and higher. Very typical. In any case, I found the ship fun. I've enjoyed playing it. But again, I don't really recommend it. And, well, even though I found it fun, literally every battle I've played in it has been a terrible blowout at Tier 6. I see people saying, oh, Legendary Tier is so unplayable because it's always blowouts, players have no clue what they're doing. Much better to play at the lower tiers. Really, though? Really, I don't think so, because every single one of these games, and I've played, I don't know, 11 or 12 of them in this ship, every single one of them has been an awful blowout. Pensacola, the floating citadel of sadness. Well, yeah, you don't want to be in front of these 16-inch guns as a Tier 5 cruiser, or really anything else. The accuracy does leave a little bit to be desired, but when it's on point, well, it can completely neuter Tier 5 cruisers like that. It's just unfortunate there was no dev strike. And now, you see that 12 kilometers away? This is primarily the reason I wanted to show you this blowout, in addition to the first one, because, well, look at this Ranger. As we don't finish off the Pensacola with the main battery guns, oh no, he's still got like 300 HP left. We're going to shoot at the Ranger instead, but will our secondaries finish him off? Why are they not shooting at the Pensacola? Actually, I think they are. They're just missing. There we go. Close quarters expert, skill kill on the Pensacola, first blood, and there's more than just Ranger out here. We've got Primal, which I think is New Mexico, and there's also a Queen Elizabeth that hasn't quite approached that side of the island yet. What this Ranger is doing here, pushing in though, I have no idea, but of course we are going to focus him down.